This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we're talking with Denifield Player. Welcome, Denifield Player.
Thank you for having me, Lizzie.
I am honored, and Denifield and I are classmates. We graduated in 1957 from Lincoln High School, the Big Terriers, and we have known each other ever since. So not only are we classmates, we are friends, and we have been doing some, what does John Lewis call it? We have been in
Good trouble.
we have been in good trouble for a long time. We started before we finished college, but he is going to talk to you about some of his experiences, and I'm going to tell you about my experience in St. Augustine. Okay, the sit-in there. Amazing, and I don't know if you all watched television yesterday or not, but ironically, what's her name? LaVon Bracy Wright was in town. Had I known that Denifield, I would have invited her to be on the show with us, but I knew not about it, and I was just so surprised to see her, and I said, boy, the timing is perfect. So LaVon, if you are within the sound of my voice, you can hear that we are going to talk about you, because you did your work basically by yourself. You and who else? Joel Buchanan, and somebody else, William Smith. I don't remember, but you all open up the gateway at GHS. Now, who sat in with you?
Let me tell you, I'm probably one of the fathers of the civil rights movement here in Gainesville, because Gainesville was totally segregated.
Very much so.
This was one summer day, two of our classmates, Vernon Hayes, James Miller, my brother and I.
Oh, yes.
We just kind of hooked up one summer day, and we were just walking and talking about current events.
Yes.
And we ended up behind Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church.
Yes.
And we were talking about sit-in demonstrations that were going on around the country at that time. And just out of thin air, we decided that Gainesville's time had come.
Okay.
So we decided we would go over to Woolworth's and sit in.
Yes.
Well, we didn't have a plan B, and we had been arrested. So we went over there and sat in at the lunch counter.
Yes.
And we sat there for about 15 minutes. No one said anything. Nobody acknowledged us. And eventually the manager came over and told us it wasn't Woolworth's policy to serve Negroes at that time.
Okay.
So we politely got up and left. A couple of doors down, there was a family drugstore.
Right.
So we said, let's sit in. They had a small lunch counter that sat maybe about 6 to 8 people.
Okay.
So we said, hey, let's go in there and try them. So we went in there and sat at the lunch counter.
Okay.
And the guy said, may we help you? We said, yeah, we want hamburgers.
Okay.
Lo and behold, he started making those hamburgers for us.
Really?
That was the first integrated lunch counter in Gainesville, a
Really?
family-owned drugstore there.
Wow.
So being proud of our accomplishments that day, we went back to Mount Pleasant, talked to our pastor, who was Reverend W.M. Ferguson. He was an activist in his time. And he said, that was great, guys, but you need to organize.
Okay.
So he helped us to organize the NAACP Youth Council.
Really?
We had our first meeting in Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church. We drafted Charles Chestnut III to be our president. I think we needed 3 officers. We drafted Charles to be the president. I was the treasurer, and James Miller was the secretary.
I know all of you all.
Of course you do. So at that point, we started sending out notices through the community that we were going to have civil rights meetings. From there, we organized picket lines. Our targets were theaters and restaurants.
Really?
Now, we had a diverse audience because we had students from the university to join us.
Okay.
The Harmling brothers, I recall,
Yes.
and the late Judith Benninger. She was an attorney. She passed away.
Okay.
But Judy also joined us, among others.
Okay.
So we had marches around at different restaurants in Gainesville, and our big finale, I guess you could call it, was a demonstration at the Florida Theater.
Okay.
And that demonstration spurred the city of Gainesville to form the first biracial committee in Gainesville. And I think Dr. Cosby served on that committee.
Okay.
And that committee negotiated the integration of theaters and restaurants in Gainesville.
I am so honored to have you on my show telling me the history, because no one, I've never heard this before, no one in Gainesville has talked about it. The NAACP needs to know this.
Yes.
Okay, I joined at a young age the NAACP, but I lived in Archer. But to know that you all started here in Gainesville at a drugstore, you said? Little
We started at
restaurant.
Woolsworth, really.
Right, but you,
But we were served at the drugstore.
and see, that's important. That's
Yeah.
history. We
Yeah.
need to know it. What year? Do you remember the year?
Ooh,
You were
early
still in
60s.
school.
Early
Okay,
60s.
that's when my little incident took place in St. Augustine in 1960. I was a junior.
Mhm.
Now I tell people I sat at the counter. In reality, I didn't, but I was there and I sat
Mhm.
in my mind because I was so afraid. All of us were afraid, but mentally we sat. We had 4 young men, to take the lead. They did the sitting, but all of us said the same thing. Oh, we sat. We helped integrate. It was Woolworth in St. Augustine. Now we did have some females that they took to jail, and they didn't sit, but they just beat them anyway and took them to jail. Beat one, and took them to jail. However, the men really, really did the hard work. But we were there. The KKK came. Were we afraid? Of course we were very afraid. And I just feel like, and I know I was doing that good trouble back then, because we were there. We were there.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun, but I feel like we made a difference. And speaking of Reverend Ferguson, I knew him very well. Reverend Wright was run out of St. Augustine because when he taught in St. Augustine at my college, I was one of his students. And he is the one, he and Brother Dr. Haling from Jacksonville really instigated the sit-in at St. Augustine.
Okay.
Okay. None, they were not experienced. We were just out there. However, they knew when to call things off. They knew when to stop us when it got really, really serious. So they ran him out of St. Augustine. That's why he came here. And LaVon
Yes.
is his daughter.
Yes.
Okay, and he made sure he continued doing what he was doing, and he organized the NAACP here. So I guess you all had already organized. So he just helped you out, started doing good trouble too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Let me tell you a funny story about that day. because we knew we weren't going to get served at
Right.
Woolworth. So it never dawned on us, do we have money if they serve us? So
Okay.
when we went to the drugstore, the family drugstore, they when he asked us what we wanted, and we said hamburgers. He started making the hamburgers, and so I'm going, can we pay for this? But we had it covered, so it was good.
Okay,
It worked out.
Hamburgers then were probably what, 25 cents?
Probably, probably.
Well, I'm glad you had the money to
Yeah,
cover.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we took chances. It was part of growing up. It was
Yes.
part, and Charles Chestnut was into everything. At one time I thought he was an attorney because he helped everybody. He was a good community advocate, and he helped people. And he was a member of your church also.
Yes.
All of you all were.
Well, James wasn't a member.
Okay.
Vernon, my brother, and I were members.
Yes, okay. And I was a member there for a short while, but yeah, that was really fun. But anyway, I am so glad you came in, and we got a lot going on with Rosewood. My mom and I always talk about my mother when I talk about Rosewood because it is my mother's dream, mission, okay, demand that said, baby, you better tell the Rosewood story correctly. You must research, you must authenticate, and you must not attack anyone. And she told me to, she didn't say cross over, she just said treat people with respect. And that's what I do. Because when we build this museum, we need money with respect from anybody.
Yes.
You got money out there, y'all? We don't care who you are. Just help us build this museum in Archer because it's not for me. It's for the next generation, for our
Yes.
children, your children, your grandchildren. We don't know who is going to be interested
Yes.
in preserving history, and that's what Mom said. Always preserve history. And I met Freddie. Freddie Weeby works here with Steve Spurrier. And one day I was talking about starting a podcast, and he said, hey, we already have a podcast room. I didn't know anything about Steve Spurrier. This was before they opened here. He said, you can host it here. And I said to myself, what? And when I came here, I almost passed out to see the luxury and all of the support that I get from Steve Spurrier, Coach Steve Spurrier, Freddie Weeby, who is the director of Make It Happen Studio, Meldon Law, Jeffrey Meldon Law, and Campus USA Credit Union. They are the supporters that have been here for me, and anything that they can do to help, they do it. And I want you all to visit, especially right now, my website, and on there is a scholarship application. So we give 5 scholarships a year. No big scholarship, but it's a scholarship in my aunt's name for $500. And that's a lot when you write a check to a kid for $500. You would think it was $5,000. They are very, very appreciative. Okay, that's a lot of money when you are trying to prepare to go to college. And we used to send it to the college, but I decided, John told me, my husband said, Liz, why don't you just write the check, you all write the check and give the check to them and let them buy what they need, some of the items they need before they go to college. And that's why I said they are very, very appreciative. Okay?
Liz, one of my biggest regrets is that I wasn't inquisitive enough about my family history when I was much younger. And I've watched you from afar as you keep the Rosewood history alive. And I'm just excited for you about the Rosewood Museum. How are those plans coming along?
The plans are moving, okay? We are seeking to get started, we are seeking $10 million. Let me back up. Pian Henderhan wrote a grant and was able to get $460,000 from the land grant, and that's not the right name for it. However, with that money, we were able to get the property surveyed, get mapping. We have done mapping, and they have done the renderings, the pictures that they are going to be adding to the website, so people can see what the museum is going to look like. We're going to bring it to Archer. My aunt was from Archer, married a man in Rosewood, taught there until the massacre. So we are going to bring the museum to Archer on the property she was raised on. Okay, and the young man that owns the house in Rosewood donated the house to us. However, Denifield, the house is more than 150 years old, and we just believe it will fall apart. Okay, and we did do a little research, and we would have had to move or take down like 39 or 37 wires, utility wires, in order to bring it 37 miles from Rosewood to Archie. So we're going to build our own replica, and it's going to look like that. But we're on the move.
Good.
Yes, and we are asking for $10 million, and I'll talk about the cookbook when I come back. But that's where we are. We're headed.
All right.
We're not giving up.
Good.
Okay. All right. It's about time for our first half. We're going to head to a quick break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History.
I am Florida and America's Black
History,
History,
and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, brought to you weekly from the Steve Spurrier Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We are here with Denifield Player. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, live from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And I'm back here with my classmate, Denifield Player. We are the same age, but we're young, too. We graduated in 1957, and that tells you how young we are.
Of course.
We look the part anyway, don't we?
We may not feel it as much.
Exactly. But I enjoy hanging in here doing what I am doing, and you just mentioned to me that you are impressed, or whatever the word you said, because I continue to do my family's history. My mom's sister was the Rosewood school teacher and was damaged mentally, emotionally, because she was raped. And as I tell people, back then, that was a disgrace, because she felt that she was responsible for being raped, and it was embarrassing to her. And she was too embarrassed, as they said back then, ashamed to tell her parents. However, her sister, my mother was 20 at the time, single, still living at home, so she shared everything with my mom. And it was so painful when she would share it with my mom and cry about what happened to her, because she could not stop it. My mom knew that the history needed to be preserved. My sister, 7 years older than me, Mom did not ask her. She put all of this stress and pressure and whatever. She asked me. I said, Mom, no, please. I don't want to do it. It's too painful. Because at 5 was the first time I heard the story, and I knew then it was not going to be good. And she continued as I grew up, I guess, to target me. She knew that I had something that she needed. So eventually she gave me the assignment, and I'm leaving a lot out. But she said, make sure, baby, you research, authenticate, document, tell the truth, and never attack the people living today because they didn't create Rosewood. You didn't create Rosewood. It's
Right.
ugly history. Just keep it real. And that's why I named my foundation the Real Rosewood Foundation. Today, as we speak, am I angry? Of course I am. Am I angry with my mom? I think so, Mom. But I'm appreciative at the same time because people like you are interested in what I am doing. And as I say, I cross, over it, and I talk to the black, the white, the brown, the blue, Republican, Democrats, independent. I need all of you to help us preserve America's history, which is black history. And I don't have to tell you that you know that our ancestors enslaved, You know that I tell people we built America on our shoulders in blood-soaked tears. This is our history. And I'm proud not of the cruelty, but I am proud to be Lizzie. I am proud of my great-grandmother who walked from Jackson, Mississippi, aged 13 when she was kidnapped from her family. Because of her, I am. Because of my parents and how they suffered, we are. And we have suffered, but we knew how to survive. And you called me, and I'm going to put you out there, the other day and asked me, Liz, about the gophers. I said, Denifield, you know those gophers are tagged. We can't eat gophers, but I want you all to know gophers, chicken, rabbit, raccoon, opossum, we call them possum, you name it. We lived, we survived.
I can't believe you put me out there with the gopher like that.
Of course.
But let me just say this because, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that you have a good relationship to white citizenry.
Yeah.
How has that evolved? And
With the whites?
and what have they contributed to the Rosewood legacy?
Their support right now, and I know they are going to contribute money. They're the ones with the money. We need money.
Yes.
And I'm polite, I'm kind to everybody, and they do donate to my foundation. So they are donating.
Okay.
Yes. And I want everybody to donate because, like I say, it's not for me, it's for us and our children. And the kids get along, and we work together. And one thing I'm not going to sit back and allow people to take our black history out of books. It's who we are.
Yes.
And I'm not going to sit here and say, it's okay if you take this off the shelf and take that off the shelf. When I was growing up, I didn't own a book. We could not afford books. We learned to read from a Bible, Could not, and I don't care what that book says. If it's a word in there, stop trying to interpret what other people are thinking and writing. You don't know what it means. Just let these kids learn to read. It doesn't matter. And I've heard, well, we don't want people to know about the slavery and what happened. Hey, you are bad people, some of you, and you did bad things. But we don't hold you accountable for what you did. Yeah. We have grown. We know better now than to do what we used to do. So don't take my life, my history, and what we have suffered and out of books.
Yeah, that's the thing that really upsets me is it seems as though they're trying to eradicate our history,
Exactly.
and it's unacceptable.
Exactly.
And we have to push back.
We have to, and I was reading where the museum in Washington D.C. I understand they're trying to get a group together to go there, and if something in that museum that they don't like, they are going to not give grant money for it. It's history. Stay out of our business, because your kids learn. All of the kids learn, and these kids are so smart and they know how to get along. Why is it that you don't want the kids to know what happened, what your ancestors did? They already know.
Yeah.
Okay? And if they don't, I tell people, when I tell people my grandfather passed as white, he did. Now, you know, if he passed it as white, his parents had to be white. My grandfather married a lady from Bowman, South Carolina, my great grandmother. And her name was Eliza Bowman. Where did she get the name Bowman from? From Bowman, South Carolina. So that tells you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So stop trying to cover for the kids, and you're really covering your own racism. And don't put it on the kids. Okay? Anything else you'd like to add to that? I'm getting you in hot water too.
Well, you know, I have very, very strong opinions about all the racist attacks that are coming against us, and with all the politics out there. I just recently heard about they're trying to close up the museum in Washington D.C. That's ridiculous.
It is.
But you know, as I said, we have to push back against this stuff.
Exactly.
And you know, some of these politicians just have to grow a spine and
Exactly.
push back with us. But
On both sides.
on both sides, of
Grow
course.
a spine, because it's not about you.
Yeah.
All they want is money. Did I say that? Well, it's about them.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you keep asking us for money and vote for us. I appreciate the people that's out there fighting for us. And there are some people out there. They are fighting.
Yes.
They are fighting because we are in this together. Okay, and like I said, your kids are jewels. They know, they play football together and they get along.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes sports. If you can embrace them when they are out there playing football, basketball, baseball, whatever sport it is to win for your college, and you're happy, okay, then they're the same people. We are the same quality people. That's who we are. And Mom said to me, and she wanted me to tell the story, and I always like to give the people that saved the lives of the Rosewood survivors credit. Mom said to me that Sheriff Bob Walker worked 96 hours straight in an effort, the Levy County Sheriff, to make sure my aunt and other people survived. Okay, and today I am in touch with Sheriff Walker, great granddaughter. And I was looking at a paper this morning wherein he was the sheriff from 1905 until 1924. So soon after Rosewood, they fired him.
Mm.
He is the only sheriff in Levy County where his name, he is not acknowledged. They never put his name on the wall, but that's okay, you all. When I build that museum, his name is going on my wall. Had it not been for him and living in Levy County, you know, it was surrounded by the Gulf of Mexico. It was a peninsula. They would have died. So he, the sheriff, not the sheriff, he, the train conductors, and the store owner and his wife really, really made it possible for them to survive it. My mom would always tell me, you need to write a song, but she wrote a song for me, and I can't sing, but I'm going to sing this because I want people to know that they were very involved. And it goes like this: the Cedar Key train conductors were told to pick up in Rosewood. Standing by the tracks with a lantern, his young school teacher stood. That was my aunt, waiting in desperation to carry out the sheriff's plans, rounding up the hidden survivors to board the midnight train. The sheriff and the store owner worked around the clock, informed the train conductors just when and where to stop, pick up the men, women, and children who were hiding out, and bring them to Archer, Florida, traveling the same old route. So the train first stop was in Archer. Then it came on over to Gainesville. Bob Walker and John Wright took on a daring risk, put the survivors on the train, Lord, and sent them off with a kiss. Notified the Gainesville families to be on the lookout for their kin. Told them the train was a-coming and told them exactly when. So the people came from Cedar Key. There were men that the sheriff begged to help him put the elder and the children, the women, the elderly women, men, and children on the train once it stopped in Rosewood to pick them up. No one knows today who these white men are. But they told the sheriff, they said, Bob, we cannot jeopardize our family lives unless you take that train out like 4 a.m. in the morning when everybody else has gone to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. So the story goes on and on and on. But it's a good story. I don't know if it's a good story, but the solution hopefully is good. I'm no longer angry with my mother. It's still painful, Denifield.
Yeah.
It really is. Yes.
Well, as a friend of mine said, we're in the fourth quarter of our lives.
Yes.
Is there anyone waiting in the wings to carry on this legacy?
I think my VP, but he works full time. But he knows, okay, his name is Pedro Germain, and he is the Rosewood resident artist, okay. My family, you know what they tell me? Auntie, you are doing an excellent job, but we don't want to do it. Why? It's too painful. That's what they tell me. It hurts. We don't know how you do it, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know what? It takes up all of my life. And my mom knew John, my husband, long enough to tell him, take care of my baby, and you make sure she keep my story alive. And he does. Okay, we talk about her and laugh about Mom all the time because she wants this history. She wants her sister's history to be kept alive. And I think, you know what, there are some good people out there. And I think I'm going to find the right people. We need this museum, and a young lady that I interviewed suggested, Liz, Queen Lizzie, she said, have you thought about writing a Rosewood cookbook? And I said, no. She said, that would be a good fundraiser. So if you all, I want all of you to know that we're looking for recipes to go in the book. And we want to put this book out publish it by Christmas, okay? We don't know the cost, but we need your recipe soon. And I promise you in a couple of weeks, we are going to have that recipe on Facebook, on the website, not the recipe, the application for the recipe, on Facebook, on the website, and we want you to forward it to all of your friends. And we can make some money selling.
Who should donations be sent to?
RosewoodFlorida.com is the website. And when you go there, there's a PayPal, or you can use a credit card. Rosewood, FLORIDA, www.rosewoodflorida.com.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. And that's a good question you
I will
asked.
send a donation.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate. If it take $10, that's a lot of money. If we get enough $10, 25,000 million, whatever. Yes, I appreciate that. No, we appreciate that. Thank you. and encourage all of your friends.
I will.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to close with? Closing words?
Well, it's been a pleasure sitting here talking to my classmate. You know, I was in your wedding way back when
I
you
remember.
and John got married. The whole class, as a matter of fact. And that was a fun event. And
It was.
I'm just happy that God has blessed you and John to still be here
Yes.
all these years, and for you to be able to be in the good health that you're in to carry on this monumental task that you have.
Oh, thank you.
So,
And I am so appreciative of you. And I'm glad we have stuck together and remain friends. And that's what it's all about. Okay? I
yes.
appreciate you so much. And you did an excellent job. Okay? You educated me today about the civil rights movement. And if we need to talk more about it, we will. If you need to come back, we'll come back. So thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
Okay. I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the Rosewood history. That will wrap up today's episode. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time, this is my Rosewood story, and I'm sticking to it. Goodbye.